38-year-old carpenter Anthony Downs is suing former neighbors, 45-year-old waitress Paula Nagel and her friend, 37-year-old homemaker Connie Barnett. Anthony says their children vandalized his car. Paula and Connie are countersuing for harassment.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 186 on the calendar, the matter of Downs versus Nagel Barnett.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, huh?
First, let me advise all of you that I have no intention of going back historically into the ongoing allegations of harassment, restraining orders, etc., that exists between you two people. And I'm going to start on a particular day. And that day is back in February of 2001, when I understand from reading your complaint that all of you appeared in court. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that day in February, you all seem to have come to some sort of at least a temporary resolution of this ongoing harassment that each of you claim that the other is causing you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Yes.
So you're in court. You received a restraining order against him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a restraining order at that time against them?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Everybody's shaking hands saying we hope this whole thing will go away. And then you exit the courthouse. Is that right?
No, I didn't know, ma'am. I did not leave the courthouse yet.
Your car was parked in the parking lot.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, you saw the defendant's sons doing something to your car.
No, ma'am, I did not see him until after I was told that they were doing damage to my car.
Who saw it?
My son.
Step up here. Tell me your name.
Michael.
Michael. Your dad is in court. You went outside to wait for him?
No, I was in the lobby where we were getting ready to get the papers, and as I looked around the corner because I was seeing if the car was okay, the next thing you know, I saw them. They were sitting there kicking the bumper.
Who was?
Jared, Jevin, and Tyler.
These three boys?
Yes, ma'am.
All three boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your car parked there as well?
Yes, ma'am.
How far away from where your car was parked was the plaintiff's car parked?
Okay, the plaintiff's car was parked like in the third parking space on the front of the median. My car was on the back side, about 3 cars down.
So, a good distance away from his car?
Correct.
Step up here, all three of you. Names?
Jared Barnett. Tyler Nagel.
Jevin Barnett.
Now, I've read the answer here, and the answer says that you guys were just playing around air karate kicking. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Shh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you air karate kicking around his car?
Because we were mad because he got away with throwing a softball at my friend Tyler.
So you were mad?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left court, and you went out and found his car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he says you damaged the car.
I didn't.
You didn't. What about you?
I wasn't even near it.
Where were you?
About 5 feet away from me.
You were 5 feet away. But you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you air karate kicking the car too?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that they were doing that?
No.
You have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were your parents when you were kicking this car?
They were just leaving.
Were
We
they
came
inside the courthouse when you went outside?
Yes, ma'am.
You went outside first.
Yes, ma'am. We were going to the car. We were going to our car.
Which car?
I was going to my car.
But you weren't going to your car.
Yes, I was.
Well, what did you stop at his car for?
We got mad, and so we just started to pretend.
When did you get mad? Between the courthouse door and the time you got to his car. Tell me approximately when you got mad.
I was mad.
Inside the courthouse.
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't just get mad, you were mad before you left the courthouse.
Yes, ma'am.
And what about you? Were you mad or you just following?
I was mad too, ma'am.
What were you mad at?
For him getting away,
Getting away with doing what?
throwing a softball at me, ma'am.
And is that what this case was about that you were in court about?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you hurt when the softball hit you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did the softball hit you?
On my bottom of the lip, on the left,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got a scar.
And what happened? Did the judge dismiss that case?
Yes.
So your sons were angry.
Yes.
You subsequently got a restraining order against them in
I had,
March.
yes.
So that then there are now mutual restraining orders.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay.
Ma'am. My attorney's paralegal. I have an affidavit from her saying that she was there and
No. I only take witnesses, not affidavits.
Well, she could not be here today because she was at a case with my attorney.
That's not my problem. That's your problem. I don't take affidavits. But I believe your son, and I don't believe the fact that they were angry and they just went outside and air karate kicked it, and as a result of something else, your car got damaged. Car looks like a relatively new car. Is it a new car?
Yes, ma'am. It's a 2000 Buick Regal.
Yeah. And you get absolutely no satisfaction air karate kicking a car. You get satisfaction when you actually kick it. Right, Bird?
That's right.
That's right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anthony Downs says 11-year-old Tyler Nagel, 11-year-old Jared Barnett, and 13-year-old Jevin Barnett vandalized his car. The children deny the charge.
So how much did it cost you to fix the car, sir? I have a lot of different bills here. Is it $500? Or
That was what we had to pay at the end. Yes, ma'am.
was your deductible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so now we come to March 8th. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim says that he violated the restraining order, and that's the only thing that I'm going to hear. Somebody want to tell me about it?
We do not deny that the boys were in a place where they should not have been, but we are denying all of the allegations.
Good, and I find that they kicked his car. I find that based upon several things. Quiet and listen.
Okay.
I don't believe them that they never came into contact with the car with their shoes or their feet. I believe that they were angry because little brother over here got hit with a ball. They felt it was his fault. Judge dismissed the case. They went outside, and little boys don't get any satisfaction air karateing a car. They get satisfaction if they actually come into contact with the car. And unless the air karate kick fairy did this damage to the car, somebody did it. So, I find that they did it. Now let's move to your counterclaim, madam, which is the only thing I'm going to hear right now. Got a restraining order? You say that there was continual harassment after that.
After we filed the restraining order,
How are you related to this case?
he's suing me too because those are my children.
Which children?
This one and this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was coming home from picking up my son Jared from the roller rink, and I pushed the button to open up my garage door, and he was coming from the side of my yard, down my driveway, and in front of me.
Yes.
So I called her husband because my husband was gone, and he came over, and then we called the police.
And what happened?
They went over there and talked to him, and he said that he was in bed sleeping at the time, and that there was nothing we could do because there wasn't a third party involved.
So you saw him walk from the side of your house?
Yeah.
What's
Well,
next?
he was running, ma'am.
Running. What's next?
I have pictures where he was on 3 different occasions taking his children to school. I have pictures of him driving by the house where he could have taken 3 to 4 other routes, which were shorter than the one he took, but I feel he took these just to make himself known that he was there.
So he drove his children to school and he could have taken a different route and avoided going on your street. Is that what you're saying?
3
It's
or
not
4
harassment.
different
What's
routes.
next? Anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to hear you.
I still have 2 court documents stating that there was no damage to the car.
Listen carefully to me. I find that there was damage to the car as a result of your boys kicking the car. They practically confessed. The only thing they didn't confess to was that their feet, when they were doing the karate kicks, actually came in contact with the car. I don't have to repeat it to you 20 times. They were seen doing karate kicks to the car, and there's damage to a brand new car. Should have watched them more carefully.
Ma'am.
Your counterclaim's dismissed for harassment. Listen to me. The matter was resolved as of February 16th. The only thing that I'm entertaining is the damage to your car. Listen to me very carefully. That cost you $500, right?
And a car rental.
I don't care about
We had
the
to,
car.
we had to rent a car because it was getting fixed.
Do you think that I believe that when there is an ongoing problem with harassment between 2 families, listen to me very carefully. You're not receiving. When there is ongoing problems with 2 families, like there is with these 2 families involving children, that all the adults aren't a little at fault? I believe that they're all a little at fault. The adults. All the adults.
Can I say something? The day that the restraining order took place is the day that, before this court date, they said I did this to her house.
I'm dismissing her counterclaim for harassment, sir. You have to understand that. If you listened instead of had your own thing going on in your head, you would understand that. I don't find driving down a street or coming from the side of her house harassment. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're in a receiving mode. So being in a receiving mode, I'm telling you, sir, that I believe that when there is an ongoing pattern that requires police, prosecutors, detectives, court personnel to waste their time to deal with childish behavior and adults are involved, you don't get your car rental. You got it?
But I didn't do the
But you
damage.
do get your out-of-pocket expenses for them kicking your car, which they did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They had beaten Michael up several times.
He was found guilty of assault battery against my son, Jared.
They had me down, so I was kicking and punching, trying to get my way out of the fight.
The father should have just broke it up, had boys shaking their
Right.
hands, and go on with life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kettleson versus Kettleson. Step forward, please.
28-year-old cashier Jennifer Kettleson is suing her brother, 25-year-old welder Nathaniel Kettleson, for unpaid loans, the return of her belongings, and damages from an assault. Nathaniel is countersuing for storage fees.
Miss Kettleson, the defendant is your brother. I've read your papers, your complaint, and your answer. Nowhere in the complaint or the answer do I see the need for any child witnesses, so I'm going to have her take this child outside.
Come on, buddy.
All right. According to what I've read, you were living in Alaska with your children. Things weren't going well there. You spoke with your brother. Your brother offered to open his house to you if you wanted to relocate from Alaska to Montana, where he lived with his family. You sold some stuff, packed up the rest, and moved in with your brother. Things did not work out. You got into a major brouhaha with him, either a week or two later. According to you, he kicked you out of the house.
Right.
You want him to pay for the following: $500, which is what you say it cost you for a motel to stay with your family. $1,400, which is the amount that you say you had to borrow for airline tickets because someone else said that you could come to stay with them in New York. A couple of $1,000 for your aggravation. In addition, you claim that he had borrowed some money from you,
That's correct.
several $100s, and he didn't pay you back all of the money, right?
Correct.
Mr. Kettleson, your brother, has a counterclaim. His counterclaim is you left, and you left a whole bunch of your stuff there, and then he and his family were relocating. Because he was a nice guy, he took your stuff with him when he relocated, and the van wasn't big enough to hold his stuff, so he had to put his stuff in storage, and he wants you to pay for the storage for his stuff because he took better care of your stuff, right?
That's correct.
Are you all nuts or what? Ms. Kettleson, if you go and live with somebody, a member of your family, and things don't work out, you believe that there's a contract, and the contract existed between you and your brother to provide a home for you and your children, even if the situation became intolerable? And that's why you believe he's responsible for this $1,900 in expenses you had to move out of his house?
Your Honor, he called me up and he said that we can come down and stay with him, and he seemed very, very polite about it and everything, and he had to convince me to come down.
You're a big adult. Do you think if a living arrangement doesn't work out with a relative, you're entitled to further relocation expenses?
Yes, I do.
Wrong. I don't have to hear anymore. Forget it. That doesn't happen. And your aggravation as a result of that also doesn't happen. You take your chances. You move from Alaska, where you weren't doing well, to Montana in the hopes that you would do better. Didn't work out, so you moved on. That's not a lawsuit. That's called unfortunate.
Your Honor, he said that he would be sending my stuff to me. I have a letter from him about that, and...
Okay, so he has some of your belongings.
Right.
Fine, let's talk about the loans first. We'll talk about the belongings second. Loans, when did you lend him money?
I lent him money on October 10th, or 18th.
How much?
$300.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you pay her back?
I paid 200 of that back.
You have any proof of that?
No.
She says you
not
paid
during
back
her testimony.
$150.
Yes.
Wasn't expecting it to go this far.
Okay. What was the next loan? When was that?
October 18th.
What were the circumstances surrounding that loan?
He brought his daughter over so I can watch her and while he went somewhere, and he asked me for $100.
Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
This
Did
is
you
at
give her
the
back that
hotel.
money?
No, I did not.
Fine. So you owe her $250. That's easy. What else?
It says right here, I will get my taxes back in about 2 weeks. It should be enough to mail your stuff. What do you want me to do with the stuff that you left with Maurice? Don't worry, I am going to send all that you left there.
What kind of stuff do you have?
My computer, my belongings, my
Don't take my belongings.
Anything
Your computer.
and-
Okay, my computer, our baby books.
There's no baby books.
Yes, there is. My kids' clothes. I have a leather jacket in there. Picture frames, beanie babies, sleeping bags, all sorts of things.
Okay. Did you send him any money to send you back that stuff?
No, he was supposed to send it with the money that he owes me.
Well, that's fine. You have all that stuff? It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
packed
Oh,
up?
yes.
And you owe it $250. Do you
Yes.
think it'll cost more than $250 to send it?
Far more.
How much?
It was $174 a box. She wants it insured and priority mail and everything else with it. It was basically going to round off to about $200 a box to mail
Your
her stuff.
Honor, when I
Just a minute. How many boxes of stuff do you think you have?
2 boxes, about 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, stuffed full.
And how much do you think that that's going to cost?
About $200 a box to mail it.
So about $400.
$400 total to mail it.
Do you want to spend that?
No, I went to the post office in Montana and I asked them how much it is, and they said $50 for 70 pounds.
Well, I'm not going to guess how much it is to mail all your stuff back. He's not responsible to you to mail all your stuff back.
He said right here that he will. So he's not responsible.
No, he's not responsible for paying for it. It's your stuff. You left it there.
He owes me the money. He was
Fine, you're not, Miss Kittleson. He owes you $250. What if it costs $500 to mail back your stuff?
It doesn't. I went to the post office and it cost $50 for 70 pounds. I made sure that those 2 boxes were less than 70 pounds.
How did you make sure of that?
Because I know how much I brought down in those boxes.
Miss Kittleson, you're going to have to make arrangements for payments. The stuff is all boxed. He's prepared to turn it over to you. You have to make arrangements to get it. That's your job. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. In the meantime, he's going to give you the $250 that he owes you, and that may help to defray some of your costs.
He should also pay for the tickets, at least
I don't
from
believe so.
Montana to New York.
Oh, he's not paying for that at all. I just explained that to you.
Okay, then the hotel and stuff.
He's not paying for that either.
He should
Salvation
have to
Army, my
because
last
it was
boss paid
his
for this
fault that
hotel.
I had to leave. He said, "Come on down here and stay with me. You can stay with me until you get settled." And then he
And then
grabbed
there was a
somebody-
fight.
Yes, and he
And
grabbed-
it didn't work out. So you left. And evidently you left not under terrible circumstances.
Oh yes, it was.
Well, you said the next day you were babysitting for his daughter.
2 days later.
2 days later, you were
That's
babysitting for his daughter, which is when you came in.
his
Miss
daughter.
Kettleson, get over it. He doesn't pay for your airfare. He doesn't pay for your hotel. He pays you the money that he owes you, which is $250, and you make arrangements to get your stuff, which is boxed. Period.
I have to pay $1,349 because for my airfare ticket from Montana to New York because of the way he was to me.
No, no, no.
Same
Yes.
No, Miss Kettleson.
$1,349. She
No,
could have rented
shh.
a place to live in Montana.
Miss Kettleson, what if you decided to relocate to Paris? And the airfare to Paris is $5,000. You think you should pay $5,000?
If that's the case.
Bye. You count the suits likewise dismissed. It's nonsense.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business owners Diana Irwin and her husband Stephen are suing former friends 19-year-old T.J. Cuddy and 24-year-old Rick Large. The Irwins say they hired the defendants to look after their house, and instead they threw a party. T.J. has a separate lawsuit against the Irwins for the return of a down payment on a bike.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 572 and 560. One is Irwin versus Cuddy Large, and the other one is a cross complaint, Cuddy versus Irwin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Irwin, I'm going to address your claim first, and then I will address the claim by one of the defendants, Mr. Cuddy. According to your complaint, you hired these 2 young men to do some work in your house while you were gone on some sort of vacation or business trip. And they were given a whole list of things to do. They had access to your home. And it is your claim that they threw a major party while they were there, and that as a result of that, your home was invaded, a large group of people, that some things were destroyed or damaged, and a substantial amount of money stolen. And you're suing both of these young men for $5,000.
Correct.
The defendant said it was no big deal party, just a few friends, nobody went into the house. And Mr. Cuddy has a cross complaint, which I will get to in a moment. Who's Mr. Cuddy?
Would be me.
That's you. All right, how did you know these 2 young men?
Rick Large had worked for us, done some work for our business for about a year,
What kind of business?
a computer business. And Mr. Cuddy, my husband had known him for probably about 12 years, and I'd known him about 6 years. And he was also a neighbor of ours.
And you gave both these young men access to your home.
Actually, Rick Large was the one that was hired to come in and feed the dogs, check emails, pick up mail, pick up the newspaper, and do a few chores around the house, and we paid him $300 for the week to do that.
You only paid Mr. Large.
Correct.
Okay, were they supposed to stay in the house?
No.
Okay, and what did you find when you came home?
When we first they came to pick us up at the airport, and they were supposed to come in our truck, but they came in Mr. Cuddy's mother's truck because they said they couldn't find the keys to the vehicle, which also has our home key on it and speed pass. When we got home, we gave them T-shirts we'd bought for them, and they left, and we were home for a few minutes, and our doorbell rang, and our neighbor came over and was very upset and said that while we were
Can't tell me
gone-
what your neighbor said.
Oh, okay. Well, we started looking around and noticed things that were moved, found a disc jockey card on my table in my family room, found broken beer bottle and beer still on the floor in the family room.
A broken beer bottle?
We went to open our garbage compactor, and it was jammed. When we finally were able to pry it open, there was the remains of grapefruit rinds, a big vodka bottle that had been jammed in there. When we went upstairs that night to go to bed, we could tell that our guest room and our room both had been remade. The bedding had been remade. And my husband went over to his side of the bed and saw on the floor a grungy-looking T-shirt wrapped around a rag that was left there. At that point, we did call the guys to come back after we found out about the party and confronted them that night. Their response was, "It's no big deal. We had a few friends over. What's the problem?" The next day, we found the money was missing. We found...
What money?
In the drawer in my desk upstairs. We keep money in a bank bag. But as we started going through the house, like I said, we started finding more and more things that had been destroyed. On the nightstand in our bedroom, there's a watermark, which I do have a picture of that.
Tell me about this party, gentlemen. Now look,
Well, Your Honor,
I want you to look at me,
no,
and I want you to make
apologize.
sure of one thing.
Okay,
How old are you?
I'm 19.
I want you to tell me about the party. Everything about the party.
Okay.
I want you to just realize it. The truth will set you free. Don't try to scam me with you had a couple of friends over for a little barbecue in the backyard. I want to know how many people were there, inside or outside. How many invited, how many uninvited. How many just showed up.
How many people showed up? Approximately on Friday night, we had about 40 people show up.
Okay, so you had about 40. And how many people had you in... I read your papers, but I've had teenagers, so I know.
I understand.
Okay, good.
you-
So you had about 40.
Your Honor,
Could there have been 50?
it's a possibility, yes, but
Oh,
it's not
so there
likely.
could have been 50. How many did you invite?
I personally didn't invite anybody to the party.
Who did?
That would have been Rick.
How many did you invite to the party?
3 or 4 people.
Shh. So you invited 3 or 4 and 40 or 50 or so showed up. Did you call the police?
No,
Why not?
because everybody was having a good time. We were very responsible, kept the house locked at all times. Everybody was strictly in the backyard only,
Well,
and
people...
I didn't want to ruin a good time.
Well,
Judge, the police were called.
Just a second. Mr. Large,
Yes.
you know that your conduct was unacceptable. You had a party, you had alcohol at the party? Speak.
Yes,
Who purchased the alcohol?
I purchased some of the alcohol.
All right. How much beer did you purchase, sir?
I didn't purchase beer. I purchased a bottle of gin,
Yes.
and that was it.
You mean that 40 or 50 people survived for an evening of revelry on one bottle of gin?
No, actually, people brought their own alcohol.
Really? So they were smart enough to come and bring their own stuff. Now, so you want to tell me how many hours this party lasted?
I don't know, about 8.
All right. So are you telling me, sir, that in an 8-hour party where everybody was drinking, nobody had to use a bathroom?
No, actually, they did, and I instructed them they weren't to go in the house under
So where
any
did they use a
circumstance.
bathroom? Where did they go potty?
I told them that they needed to go to a McDonald's down the street or somewhere down the street.
Sure.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana and Stephen Irwin claim former friends T.J. Cuddy and Rick Large were hired to look after their home. The Irwins say the boys threw a wild party and trashed their house.
So who slept in the beds?
Nobody slept in. I slept in a guest room, on the guest room bed.
Well, is that part of your agreement?
Well,
That you were supposed to stay in the house?
they let me, I actually live with the Irwins. They told me they treated me like a son. They had welcomed me everywhere. You know, they said, you're
Was
welcome.
it your arrangement on this weekend that you were to stay in the house?
No.
Miss Irwin,
Yes.
let me make myself clear. We are not going to entertain your missed money.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because it doesn't sound logical to me that somebody goes away and leaves two young men with access to their home and leaves what you claim was $8,000 in cash in your top desk drawer. Doesn't sound kosher to me. So I'm going to entertain your claim of whatever damage was done in your house, because I believe that both of these young men are absolutely responsible for that. Because if they invited 3 or 4 people and 50 people showed up, the first thing that you do if you are responsible is you get on the phone, you call the police, and you say there are people trespassing on this property and I want them removed. They chose not to do that because, according to Mr. Lodge, they were all having a good time in this party that lasted 8 hours. To me, a party lasts 4 hours and then your company goes home and that's it. So, tell me exactly what was damaged, how much it's going to cost to fix it, because that they are responsible for.
Well, I did want to say that the police were called 2 nights.
It was a long party. It was a long party.
Well, and the
you
one...
know that you don't leave teenage boys in your house, 19, 20, 21 years old, in your house and say, the house is now empty. Because you know what happens? The word gets out into the street. Party! And everybody comes.
They did note that they had planned the party well before we were out of town even.
Right. And how did they do that? Did they do that by
Right.
hiring, according to what I read in your complaint, a disc jockey?
Yes.
Was that disc jockey hired 3 weeks in advance?
No, ma'am.
When?
We called the disc jockey 2 hours before a party.
2 hours before the 3 or 4 people that you had invited arrived?
He was one of those.
Huh?
He was the person.
2 hours
one of
before the 3 or 4 people that you were having over for intimate barbecue in the backyard arrived, you called a disc jockey.
Well, Your Honor, the disc jockey was a personal friend of Rick's, and when he called his friend, the DJ, he was at another party, and instead of keeping that party there, he decided to bring it with him. That's how all those people ended up at the Irwin's house.
They get put off the premises by the police.
Yeah, we understand that what we did was wrong. That
Perfect.
night,
So then let's get to it. How much damage was caused?
Well, we had to have the house rekeyed because we found that the...
You're absolutely right. Rekeyed. How much? Let me just get out my little calculator.
75.75.
75.75.
The
What else?
car had to be rekeyed, 96.54. No, on the table, I don't know how, or the nightstand, I don't know. I haven't gotten a quote on how much it will cost to fix the ring that's on there.
Do you have a picture of it for me to look at?
Yes, I do.
That's not a major deal. Do you have children?
Yes.
How old are your children?
25 and 27.
Ever left your children alone over the weekend and had a group of people over there that you didn't invite?
Yes, but they're much more responsible than that.
But it's happened. I know, I have kids.
But I think
I've had large parties, unanticipated parties at my house.
But I think a difference is it's my children and it's their home. And
That's why you trust your children. You don't trust strangers. You don't give strangers, teenagers, and those just above teen. How old are you?
I'm 24, but they always told me they treated me like a son.
Don't give me baloney.
Okay.
If they treated you like a son and you treated them like a parent, you would have been more careful with their property. Now let's get to Mr. Cuddy. Mr. Cuddy, according to your complaint, Mr. and Mrs. Irwin were very nice to you. You wanted a motorcycle.
yes.
And Mr. Irwin agreed to advance you some money for the motorcycle.
Yes, he agreed to be the lien holder on the title.
Right. According to what I read, it was $5,000. Is that right?
For $4,800 in these.
So almost $5,000. You put in $1,000 and he paid $4,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then he repossessed the motorcycle.
That's correct.
And you want the money that you put down on the
That's
motorcycle.
correct.
That's your claim. Where is the motorcycle now?
It is in storage.
And the title is in your name?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, then you have to return to him $1,009.46.
But, Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm stuck with a bike, and I have a consignment agreement from the dealer that shows that clearly that the value of the bike now, I'm going to take a loss.
Listen to me. If there's bad business on your part, but I can understand Mr. Cuddy. He put in $1,009.46. He had an agreement with you. It was a verbal agreement that you were going to be the lien holder on the bike and he was going to pay for it. You cannot keep that bike and not give him back his $1,000. You can't do it. So on your counterclaim.
नहीं आपसे हमारी कोई दुश्मनी नहीं है हमारे भाई है हमारी रेट ये है हम रेट पहले बताते भी हैं ऐसा कोई बात नहीं है जरा भी अच्छा चलो 5 पराठे 100 कर दिया आपने हाँ 100 चलो तो आपने करना है ना नहीं मैं नहीं करता 5 पराठे कर दें मेरा फोटो बड़ा है हां आप साइड का तू बड़ा बा ओ फोटो बड़ा ये हमारे हैं बाकी से टॉप भी लग गया है ये रोड की रोड चाइना बॉर्डर पर जब बाकी सब टॉप चले गए ना क्लास के